we present to you My Boy Danny by Alfie James, with Kitty Whitley as Ange, Ben Kinsman as Rory, and Atarah as Leah.
Sit still.
Oh, it hurts.
It's hardly a graze.
Oh, what is that stuff?
It's just antiseptic cream.
Oh, it stings.
It's meant to, otherwise it wouldn't be doing its job.
Oh, why'd you have to sneak up behind me like that?
You'd have run a mile if I'd just walked up to you.
I don't even know you.
Oh, is that right?
Never seen you in my life. Ow!
Stop being a baby. So why did you jump out your skin like that then?
Caught me off guard, like. I just slipped on the curb. You shouldn't creep up on people like that. They could have easily landed funny and bashed my skull in.
There's a lot of things that people shouldn't do, but they do it anyway, don't they? There, you're sorted.
Can I go now?
You're not a prisoner. I should call the police.
What?
I said I should call the police.
I'm the one with the hole in his head.
I know who you are.
What do you mean?
Every night I sit here looking out the window, 11:10, waiting to see him climb over that fence across the road. He'd look up at the window and see me watching, and he'd give me that cheeky grin. The same one he always gave me when I said be home by 11. It was the same one he gave me when I'd catch him pinching the biscuits from the jar, when I told him none until after dinner. It's been 11 months and 14 days, and there hasn't been a night that's gone by where I've not looked out of this window and I haven't seen you there instead. I know who you are, and I know what you did.
You're crazy. You know nothing.
Then why are you still here?
You're threatening to call the police.
You've been stalking me for months.
No, I haven't. Oh, you've got this so wrong.
Really?
Don't call the police.
I've seen you lurking between the cars, hiding behind the fence and spying on me.
I wasn't spying. I was...
What? Waiting for someone? Pretending to have a cigarette? I saw you.
Oh, no, you've got it all wrong.
I'm calling the police.
Please, you don't understand.
You know what happened to my son, don't you? Don't you?
No!
Were you with him? Were you one of them? I know there was more than one of you.
No.
Stop lying to me.
I'm not lying.
Then why do you keep coming here?
I don't know.
Are you wanting to see what damage you've caused? Is this a sick joke?
He was my friend. We were at college together.
College?
Yeah.
You weren't at the funeral?
I couldn't. I wasn't allowed.
What do you mean you weren't allowed? He wasn't popular, I know that. I knew he didn't have many friends. But I still expect to see the usual people jumping on the bandwagon. You know the type. Pretending to be distraught, the attention seekers pretending to care, pretending to be messed up by it all. You know, you could have counted the number of people at that funeral on 2 hands. Some woman from the college came and tried to say a few nice words, but it was obvious she knew nothing about him. We don't have a big family. Bloody awkward it was. Don't get me wrong, there were a couple of friends that came. Beth and Andrew and their son Darren came. He was sweet. Can't believe how much he's grown though. Last time I saw him was when Danny and him used to play at the skate park, and they used to come back sometimes and play on the PlayStation.
I'm sorry.
What have you got to be sorry for? Wasn't your boy, was he?
Please don't call the police.
I haven't spoken to anyone for months. Most people don't know what to say. They try to be kind and sympathetic, but the wheel doesn't stop turning, does it? Life goes on. People forget.
I didn't forget.
What do you want? Oh, rude man! That's what we used to call him when he was growing up. Such a sweet little thing. He had one of those smiles that were infectious. You took one look at him and you were putty in his hands. He was fixated on being a superhero. Mind you, what 4-year-old wasn't back then? Trouble is that his idea of being a superhero was to run around the garden in just a cape and face mask. And I mean, just a cape and face mask. Nothing else. Gave poor Mrs. Henshaw next door a right eyeful, left nothing to the imagination. He thought he could save the world, silly sod. He'd have us all in stitches. He was such a clown when he was that age. He'd be out there running about the garden, climbing the tree at the back. I'd swear blind he'd end up with splinters in his arse. But he never cared. He was a superhero. He was rude, man, and that was all that mattered. He begged and pleaded for weeks for his dad to help turn his bike into a superhero-looking machine. Even refused to take the stabilisers off because 4 wheels made it faster. Drove us mad, it did. His dad kept saying it was just a phase. But 3 years later, and Rude Man was still larger than life. It was even starting to become a bit awkward. But I suppose that's what being a kid was all about back then, weren't it? Imagination, I mean. That and innocence. I was never a touchy-feely mother. I don't know why, but he was still my little boy. I still loved tucking him into the bed at night. Still felt that tingle when he would just wrap his arms around me for no reason, or come running when he'd bash his head or gash his knee. I still looked at him and thought, you might be a little weird kid, but you're my weird little kid. Then the little shit grew up, didn't he? One day he was letting it all hang out, and the next to it was all suited and booted in a robotic Power Ranger with supersonic phaser weapons set to kill. That's when it all started to change. One day, I found him in the garden with a cloud of smoke around him. Nearly gave me heart failure, he did. The little shit was burning his cape. Didn't know what to say. For the past 3 years, I'd longed for nothing else. And here I was, standing there, shedding a fucking tear for a make-believe character that had taken up the best part of our lives. I was suddenly choking back the tears. Rude Man was no more. Rude Man was dead. I looked down on him, trying to find the tears in his eyes, trying to find the reason. Someone said something, teased him, belittled him, but there was nothing. Here I was, almost bawling my eyes out, and my nearly 8-year-old was motionless. Instead, he just looked up at me and said, "Nothing lasts forever, Mummy," and he squeezed my hand and ran off. And that was it. That was the beginning of the end. That was when I lost him. I'm not going to call the police, so you can stop sweating by the door.
I wasn't spying. I didn't mean to scare you.
I doubt if anyone could scare me now. Still here.
I should go, but I don't want to.
Feeling guilty about something, are we?
No.
Looking for forgiveness? Don't go. What did he do to you? I know he was no saint.
He didn't do anything to me. He was all right.
Don't look at me like that. I'm not going to sit here and paint him up in gold and put him on some pedestal. He was far from being Rude Man at times.
You still look out the window just in case you see him, though.
Isn't that what mothers do? Look, what do you want? Why are you here?
Because you scared me and made me hit my head!
That's not what I meant. What do you want? Why do you keep coming here? Did you kill my son? Did you kill my Danny? Will you just calm down for 1 second and take a breath?
How could you say such a thing? I couldn't!
You blame me?
I wouldn't!
Don't come with that innocent look. I know what's going on.
I'm not like that!
Like what?
I'm not one of them! Jesus, fuck!
You were there, weren't you? You were one of them.
No,
You were there when he was begging for his life.
stop it! You're crazy!
You killed my son.
I can't breathe.
Is this a sick joke? Do you get your kicks by stalking me, watching me grieve?
Please,
What's wrong?
I can't.
Breathe, for God's sake. I said breathe.
Asthma,
Where's your inhaler?
bag.
That's it. Deep breaths. Slowly. Focus on breathing now.
I can't.
Look at me. Look at me. Breathe in and out. In and out. In and out.
I didn't. I couldn't.
Drink this. Go on.
I, I don't drink.
It's just one. It won't kill you.
Oh,
How were you ever my son's friend?
he didn't drink that much with me. He said he didn't like it either.
Did he now?
Said he only drank because everyone else expected him to.
Are you sure we're still talking about the same boy here? He never said no when his dad offered him one.
And then he'd always take a sip and then disappear into his room with it.
How'd you know that? We never forced him to.
He didn't want to upset his dad.
Does your mother know where you are?
Sort of.
Guessing that's a no. Doesn't she get worried of you going out late every night?
I tell her that I'm at the library reading.
Oh, you like reading, do you?
Mostly the old classics. I'm reading Frankenstein at the moment. It's written by...
I know who wrote Frankenstein. Danny hated reading. How he ever got into college, I never know. Don't get me wrong, I was made up for him. I thought he was going to end up like his father and I, working some shop or factory job. His dad was dead proud of him. I said it was only college that he got into, for Christ's sake. Anyone would think he got into Oxford. I was proud too. Probably should have told him that.
His favourite book was Mice and Men. John Steinbeck.
Danny, favourite book? Now that's a first. Did it have any pictures in it?
We were reading it in lesson.
Ah, so that's how you know him.
I knew him at school. But he was a bit of a dick to me. Sorry.
I've said before, I know what he was like.
I've always been a bit of a loner. My mum used to warn me not to be. It'll make you an easy target, she'd say.
An easy target for my Danny.
It didn't matter. It was in the past, and he said that he was sorry. Besides, it was my fault. I've always been a bit, awkward.
You're talking to the person who raised a boy who spent 90% of his life running around with his tackle hanging out for most of his childhood.
That's true.
You don't live around here, do you?
St. Joseph's Road.
And what would your mother say if she knew you were up here this time of night?
I'm not a child.
It's not safe, that's all I'm saying. There's a lot of nastiness going on around here. The kids are too bored and too angry. Most of the shops are all boarded up. Even the kebab place got fed up and did a runner. You must have heard about that young lad, Sammy Grove. I think that's what his name was. He would have been about the same age as you. He fell down some stairs in one of the abandoned blocks of flats. Poor kid's in a wheelchair now and too frightened to speak. Police read it off as an accident. Tripped over his own feet, they said. But we all know there was more to it. This place ain't good. It ain't good in broad daylight on a summer's day, let alone after dark.
I know what it's like. And I can look after myself. Besides, Danny showed me a shortcut.
You've been here before?
No, I meant on this estate, not here. I've never been here.
Then how did you...
He told me.
He had a girlfriend. Did you know that?
What?
He didn't think I knew, but I did. It was obvious. We hardly saw him. He'd come home, get changed, and was at the door again. We'd hardly get 2 words out of him. Mind you, he was never a talker. Do you know who she was?
Oh, just some girl.
She must have been special. He never gave anyone that much of his time. You know, it's hard being a mum. You quickly go from being the centre of your child's life to becoming a complete outsider within moments, and you're meant to just get on with it. I bet you're not like that with your mum.
I hardly see her. She's an accountant.
Oh, a career woman. Mind you, you do live on St. Joseph's Road.
It's nicer here.
Why'd you say that? You wouldn't be saying that when you wake up and not have your full English, or when you realise we've run out of electric and there's no heating or hot water.
He used to come round mine before college.
Smartening himself up for that girl of his, I suppose. He always had to look good, which also surprises me because he was a scruffy little runt when he was younger. Now he even had to smell right. And it wasn't any of the cheap stuff from Asda either. No, had to be Hugo Boss.
Calvin Klein.
I even found some of that eternity stuff in his room. He used to smell better than a woman did. Wish he'd brought you round for tea. I'm sorry about shouting at you before and accusing you of... I just wish I knew the truth. The police couldn't tell me much. Why weren't you allowed to come to the funeral?
What?
Before, you said you weren't allowed.
I just wasn't. I mean, I didn't mean anything by it.
It's okay, I understand. Funerals aren't the nicest of things.
I was scared.
Scared?
Just leave it.
It's a simple enough question.
I can't tell you.
I thought you were his friend.
I was.
Then tell me.
You wouldn't understand.
Oh, bollocks. Don't you think I've been around the block a few times myself? Boy, I've seen and done stuff that would make the hairs on your arms stand up. So spare me the crap about not understanding.
I can't. I'm sorry.
He was my son. He was my boy.
I'm sorry.
I deserve to know.
I promised.
Promised who?
I've got to go. I'm sorry.
No, don't go, please.
I'm sorry I came. I promise I won't bother you anymore.
Don't you dare walk out that door.
I'm sorry.
Thought you were different.
You're either fucking lost or you've got a death wish. Either way, you're fucked.
Does it matter?
Please tell me you haven't. In fact, don't tell me nothing. I don't want to know nothing.
I hurt my head. She took me in.
Haven't you heard of A&E?
I didn't tell her anything.
I told you I don't want to know. Why couldn't you have listened to me? I told you, didn't I? I told you, stop coming here.
I tried.
Try harder.
Keep seeing him. I can't stop thinking about him.
He's dead.
Don't say that.
It's true. It's been months. You should be...
Over it.
Go home, Rory. Don't come back. There is nothing here for you.
She deserves to know.
What? The truth? Do you really think that Dan would have wanted her to know what he was really up to and who he really was?
He died because of it.
Precisely because he didn't want anyone knowing. Look, you and me, we're like chalk and cheese. We couldn't be any different. We've been mates for forever. You know, I get you and you get me. That's why I'm telling you this. Walk away and do what's good for you.
Or what?
Don't ask that.
Or what?
I said, don't ask that.
No, tell me.
You know fucking well what?
How can you stay with him knowing what he did?
He did nothing.
Oh, of course he didn't.
You don't know him. Not like I do. He does what he has to. Don't look at me like that. Go home, Rory. Forget him. No one's got any beef with you.
It was wrong.
And you think going in there and telling his mum everything is going to make everything okay? She didn't care about him. Everyone knows what she's like. Even Dan's dad turned to the bowl and left. She's a head case. And you want to go in there and make everything worse for her. Think about it. This isn't just about you.
Leah, he was murdered.
But he wasn't innocent. Maybe he brought it upon himself.
You really believe that? Is that your phone? It's him, isn't it?
I've got to go. Go home.
Being normal's underrated. I used to hate it, like most. The dreary daily routine. Ping! The alarm clock sounds, the morning rituals, the constant battle with time and the desperate press of the snooze button trying to pause those tiny moments for a few seconds more. Oh, the arguments over the bathroom and the battle to get your child to sit still long enough to eat his breakfast or to get out of bed and have a shower regularly. The screaming tantrums when they can't find their much-loved hoodie or football boots. The noise of the preschool work run. The mayhem of the kitchen sink, the disappearing goodbye kiss and the slamming of the door, followed by the moment of sheer silence. The sigh as I would collapse in the chair and realise the last tea bag had been used and the milk had been reduced to a drain. I'd swear under my breath and curse them and give them a sarcastic little "thanks, Mum" to myself. It hardly seemed worth it, but at the same time I wouldn't change it. I wouldn't change normal. I nearly had a right smack up in the Asda car park today. One of these football wannabe wives on her daily audition of The Only Way is Essex. You know the type. Size 8, designer clothes, a broken nail equals the instant end of the world. Sugar daddy husband dresses her in designer wear and encourages her not to live in the real world. She tries to drive a 4x4 but struggles to control it and loses her temper when it doesn't do what it's told. She comes speeding down the centre of the car park, ignoring the arrows and driving the wrong way as she's late for her hair appointment at the latest new designer salon to open on the high street. I gave her a toot in my clamped out Fiesta as she narrowly drives over it to pinch the car park space which I'm clearly signalling to go into. She gives me one of those pissed off looks as to say, "Oh, how dare you?" and then gives me the middle finger. Normally I would have reversed my car right into the front of her on purpose, or even worse, parked right in front of her and blocking her. I'd get out and give her what's for, telling her she's an arrogant, spoilt brat and that her fake tan and nails don't fool me. I'd make so much of a scene she'd become so embarrassed that she'd have to apologise. I'd do it because it was right. It was me. I took no crap from people. I said it as it was. But today I let her in. Didn't fight. I drove on. I even let her give me that patronising smile, the one that says, "Oh well, bad luck." On a normal day I would have stopped, but normal's underrated. Have you noticed how people instantly turn into refugees grabbing their last food batch before a world crisis? The constant speed and magnitude of exploding trolleys coming at you in all directions, the near misses with the shop assistant unloading a supply of soap powder on the shelves, and the battle to get served at the cheese counter, and the pushing and the squeezing through to the cost cutter section to grab the slightly out-of-date bargains. Oh, the loud banging headache which followed. But there was no headache today. No argument with the self-service checkout. I looked down at the once overfilling trolley and saw an empty one instead. The turkey twizzlers, fish fingers, alphabet shapes, lunchbox bars, Monster Munch crisps and bottles of Asda Value Coke, all gone. I miss normal. Normal's underrated. I'd do anything to have that full trolley back, to have the fight left in me to give The Only Way as Essex woman a mouthful of reality. Instead I'm stuck here, looking out the window, waiting for that cheeky grin.
Are you going to come in? Or are you going to linger by the doorway? You should call your mother.
It's okay. She'll be working as usual.
And your dad?
He works away. It's fine, honest.
How's the head?
Sore?
You boys are all the same. Act all tough, giving it large. But really, you still need your mum when the chips are down.
He used to talk about you.
Moan more like it.
Sometimes. But only about stupid stuff. You could tell that you were the most important thing to him.
Now you're just being nice.
It's true. He used to worry about you a lot.
Why's that?
Because of his dad drinking.
Oh, those two never got on, really. His dad wasn't that bad. Trouble is, they were two alike in a lot of ways. Stubbornless, mostly. Neither of them knew how to talk. They just bottled it up. Only his dad quite literally took it out on the bottle. He was never violent.
He never said he was. Just that he'd disappear all day and just come home and pass out. It's why he didn't like the drink.
His dad never forgave himself. He couldn't even come to the funeral. I see him sometimes, just sitting on the bench by the underpass along Hampstead Road, talking to pigeons. He was always obsessed with the birds in the garden when we moved into our first house. That's where Danny grew up mostly.
Rude man.
He'd kill me if he knew I told you that.
It's cute. I knew he wasn't like what everyone said he was.
What do you mean?
It's like you said. We all tried to act tough.
I could tell you a few more embarrassing stories too. Had them all saved up for when he brought his girlfriend home.
He would have killed you.
The time he was trying to be an alien from outer space and got 2 glitter pens stuck up his nose. We ended up in A&E.
Glitter pens.
Not very macho, I know. I won't say anything about the invisible friend stage.
Oh my god, he told me about that.
He did?
Yeah, and the time he kicked the football indoors and it knocked his grandma's funeral cake on the floor.
Well, I could have skinned him alive. But one burial was enough that day. Especially seeing his grandma was Catholic. He was in trouble, wasn't he? I'm not angry. He wasn't perfect.
He used to bully me at first. I don't know why. Usual reasons, probably. Then one day, I came off my bike proper hard. This car clipped me and I crashed straight over a fence and into a hedge. Proper fucked up my bike and cut my hands and face. I swear that I was knocked out cold because the next thing I knew I was sitting on the curb with him pulling my bike out of the hedge. He could see that I was shivering because he took off his hoodie and put it around me. Sounds soppy, but that hoodie might have been the dirtiest, scruffiest bit of fabric ever known. But right then, it felt so warm.
It was his favourite. It was the last thing his nan brought him before she... He never let me wash it. Terrified I'd shrink it.
He ended up walking back with me. Neither of us said not one word all the way home. When we reached my house, he just said, "See you tomorrow," and walked away. I didn't realise how far he had to walk home. He even forgot to take his hoodie off me. Next day, I woke up and looked out my window, and there he was, in my garden, fixing my bike. I asked him why, and he just shrugged. And I stood there like a lemon, watching him for the best part of an hour, not knowing what to say. When he finished, I just said, "Thanks." I even offered him some money, and he just ruffled my hair and smiled and said, "Nah, you're all right." That's when I remembered the hoodie. I said I'd go and get it, and he just laughed and told me that I could keep it for a bit because he knew how much I liked it. And I looked better in it than he did.
Seeing that hoodie, I'm not sure if that was a compliment.
First time anyone my own age has ever been nice to me. I thought at first he was taking the piss. I've never had a proper friend before.
I didn't know. He meant a lot to you, didn't he?
We were just friends.
I didn't mean... Tell me some more about him.
Oh, it's daft.
Oh, please. No one wants to talk about him anymore.
We were just two friends. Us against the world on a perfect summer day. He turned up at my house and woke me up by flicking water at my face. I groaned and threw a pillow at him for disturbing my perfect dream. My mum had let him in. I swear she liked him more than she liked me. Anyway, the sun was out, not a cloud in the sky. We grabbed my bike from the shed and took the tube out to the city, grabbed an ice cream scoop and used his fake ID to grab a couple of smart price energy drinks from the offie and a packet of Benson Silvers. We walked through the park, shielded by trees, and laughed at the dogs chasing the sticks. He kicked the football that strayed away from the kids playing, and I poked fun at him for trying to act like the next Beckham or Ronaldo. He gave me a playful push and even tried to trip me up, which ended up with both of us in a heap on the grass laughing. We were just two friends, us against the world on a perfect summer day. We took a ride out to the country road, talking about girls and quoting lines from songs, like best buddies do. He talked about West Ham and how they should be playing more tactically, name the players which should be playing instead of benching, how great Andy Carroll was and could be if only he wasn't injured. I stood there balancing behind him on the bike, agreeing with everything that he said, hoping they didn't realise that I hadn't a clue what he was talking about. He was my first best friend. He could have been speaking in another language and I wouldn't have cared. He took out his sunglasses and put them on as he started climbing the hill. I couldn't help but laugh at how cool he was trying to be. "Hold on," he screamed. His feet pedaled harder and harder, faster and faster as we sped up the hill, higher and higher. Wait for it, he yelled. My heart sank, my eyes widened. "Hold on tight, here we go!" The top of the hill got closer and closer. I knew what was coming. I should have been petrified. I should have been throwing up by now in fear. The bike sped over the top and down the other side of the open road, taking my breath away in just one gust. I screamed, "Shit!" He was laughing. I was laughing. He stopped pedaling, but still we were speeding down the hillside. I grabbed hold of his arms tighter. He took his hands off the handlebars and stretched them out like wings on a plane. "Take my hands, Rory," he yelled. I was shaking. "Come on, Rory, take them." I took them. I took them! He screamed and laughed as we sped faster and faster on the edge of what could easily have been the end. The wind blowing through our hair. We were free, absolutely free. Not a care in the world. Living for the moment. We were just friends. Us against the world on a perfect summer day. Then we found a patch in the field and sat in the sun. He cracked open the bottles and we sat there talking some more. What we wanted to do after college. Our dreams. There was nothing we couldn't talk about. We told each other jokes that no one else would understand. I told him about my fears, my insecurities, and he didn't laugh. He just ruffled my hair and told me to stop being a soppy bollocks. And that he thought I had nothing to worry about. We smoked my first cigarette. I choked and he couldn't help but laugh. There was nowhere else I'd rather be. We were just two friends. Us against the entire world. Time stood still that day. Time went so slow, yet so fast that whole summer. It was him and me, best buddies forever. There's not a day that goes by when I don't wake up, hoping to see him sitting at the bottom of my bed, or standing in front of the mirror, trying on one of my tops, with a slice of toast in his mouth, which my mum had probably given him. I'd do anything to tell him to piss off. Moan at him for being too early. Or throw a pillow at him. Two friends against the entire world on a perfect summer day. Danny was in a gang. That's why he died. I shouldn't have said that. I'm sorry.
Why are you sorry? You didn't force him to join, did you?
No, but
You're not the type. You're a good boy.
it wasn't his fault.
Oh, don't sugarcoat it. No one forced him to join. Wanted to look cool, thought it would give him power and respect. That's what it was, weren't it?
He wanted out.
It's this estate. 6 months to a year, that's all it was supposed to have been for. A short stay while we got ourselves sorted. His dad had lost his job, you see. It was the first of many redundancies. That's what happens when you're on 0-hour contracts and surplus to requirements. You're an easy target. His dad's always been fond of the booze, but it wasn't always a problem. He used to have ambition. He used to want to be somebody. He had so much energy, so much get up and go. He wanted to be a salesman, and blimey, he could sell anything to anybody. He was a proper Del boy. He tried it all. Door to door, car boot sales, selling kitchen appliances, even bog roll. Once he even landed himself his own market stall. Silly daft sod thought he was the next Richard Branson. His little empire, he'd call it. Nothing dodgy, though. He always sold legit stuff. He was honest like that. It was just a shame he didn't have much luck. He once brought a whole bunch of stat-navs, only to find they only worked in Wigan and only spoke Spanish. I mean, how many Spanish people are you going to find in flipping Wigan? Oh, and then there were the gloves for your feet. All different colours and sizes they were. A whole week he was selling them, only for someone then to tell him they were socks. He swore blind he was onto something original too. It was like the headphones for the deaf. He was always trying to come up with something new, something that would make him millions. He'd take me in his arms and say, "One day, Ange, I'm going to make us rich. We'll have that big house in Wanstead by the tube station so we can jump into London and go to the theatre, grab a posh meal out or go shopping whenever we wanted. Danny could go to school where there was a real playing field and had a football team which had a complete matching kit." He was a dreamer. I never stopped loving him, you know. It broke him when Danny died. They had so much left unsaid. He wasn't perfect and he was far from being the best dad, but he did try. He really did.
Danny wanted to go to uni.
He never said.
He applied to a few, Bath, Canterbury and Sheffield. He wasn't going to bother, but I said he should. He didn't think that there was any point. But he was good enough. He really was. He was better than me at college.
I had no idea. I always thought he'd get an apprenticeship somewhere if he was lucky.
Oh, we'd spend hours talking about it. He wanted to study English and politics. He had it all worked out. Student loans, a place to stay. He was going to get a job in some coffee shop in the evenings and weekends. He even wanted to learn to drive and get an old car. You know, the typical student type with rusty side panels and a squeak that no one knew where it came from. His face would light up and he'd laugh and joke about it all the time. But he was serious. He really wanted to go. And he had the grades too. He was really knuckling down. He was going to do it.
What about you?
What do you mean?
Do you want to go to university?
Oh, yeah. I want to be a nurse.
Really? His nan was a nurse.
He said.
You two spent a lot of time together, didn't you?
Chalk and cheese. But we just kind of clicked.
I'm just glad he had a friend.
He hated being in that gang. He wanted out.
And they wouldn't let him.
He was going to tell them.
Why didn't he? Why didn't he tell me? I could have helped.
He wanted to. He didn't want to worry you.
I knew I'd swear at him more like it.
Oh, it wasn't like that. He knew that what he did was wrong. He was trying to make it right. It wasn't easy.
What wasn't easy? What did they have over him? Why couldn't he leave? Why?
He was scared.
All right, I'm coming.
Don't answer it.
What do you mean, don't answer it? What else am I going to do?
Please.
Why are you so scared?
I thought that you said you don't get many visitors.
I don't.
It's nearly midnight. Who else would be knocking at your door at this time?
It could be one of the neighbours.
Please don't.
You think it's them, don't you? They're just kids the same as you.
They're not just kids, though. Please don't answer the door.
What time is it?
I think it's about...
The exact time. What's the exact time?
Let me check my phone. It's 11:48.
Oh,
Oh?
last time I opened that door at 11:48, two men were standing there dressed in uniform. I knew what they were going to say before they even spoke. I could see it in their eyes. There were no blue flashing lights. Mrs. Campbell in the flats opposite was twitching by a window. Mick from 3 doors down was standing outside his front door. He looked at me and then looked away. Glenda from 2 doors up was already in tears. How did everyone know already? I swear that someone just clicked the pause button. My whole body turned completely cold. I couldn't breathe. It's kind of silly, really, but I swear I had an out-of-body experience just then. That or I just died. Like, my heart stopped beating and I couldn't breathe, but my body was still there standing upright and my brain was still functioning. For those few seconds, I felt nothing. Absolutely nothing. I didn't even hear the officer say those cruel words, trying to be kind and soft. Your son's dead. There was a fight. A stabbing. He was dead. And then all I could think about was tea. Making them a fucking cup of tea. They followed me into the kitchen and I started making it. I stuck the kettle on and took out 2 mugs and started putting in the sugar. I can't remember how many. I know the officer was speaking to me, but I wasn't there. That's when I started to pour the water in, but no water come out because I'd forgotten to fill the kettle up. I looked down at the mug. It was the one that Danny had made. It was the most hideous-looking bit of crap. God-awful face on it. It was always kept at the back of the cupboard, so I don't know how it got to the front. That's when it sunk in. That's when I started gasping for air. The little shit was dead. You're right. No one knocks at my door anymore. You know who killed him, don't you? And you came here to tell me, didn't you?
It really doesn't matter.
Oh, nonsense. I'll find it. It's somewhere in here, I swear it. Here we go. The mug itself. He said he was modelling the face on me, the cheeky sod.
More like a self-portrait.
You can't knock his beautiful face. And the hair. Spent ages in the bathroom on his hair.
He loved himself so much.
Only person who thought it was cool to wear sunglasses indoors and in winter.
Ah, the Ray-Bans.
Fake, my dear. Absolutely fake.
He said that they were real.
Living on this estate, get real.
Probably knocked off.
Cheeky sod. Mind you, you're probably right.
He did love himself.
He was a good-looking kid. Obviously inherited that part from me.
Obviously.
Here. Have another drink. Go on. I think we both need it. I won't tell him.
Thanks. He said that this was the best holiday he ever had.
Oh, Bournemouth. Some of the best beaches around. Mind you, he made that in Poole. Little place not far. They had this place called Poole Pottery. Oh, it's flaming hot that summer. We spent most of the week on the beach. Got a beautiful tan, I did. Best I looked in years. Made me all glowing in all the right places, it did. I'm sorry. I don't mean to embarrass you. He'd murder me if he'd heard me saying something like that to one of his mates.
I think you're pretty cool.
Nah, I'm old and past it. All my curves are in the wrong places now. I haven't slept in months. Eating's a bit of a problem too.
Well, you look fine to me.
Ah, now there is a bit of my Danny in you after all. You are a cheeky sod. He was always a ladies' man. Girls loved his little dimples and cheeky laugh.
He hated his dimples.
Always got him what he wanted though.
True.
Oh, look at my face. So many lines. Did he ever tell you how he'd get so wound up because all the other boys at school used to fancy me?
No?
Probably terrified you say the same. He's always had them wanting to come round for tea. His dad and I would laugh so much about it. One of them even wrote me a love letter. Just schoolboy crushes though. Poor kids were only 12. Who was your first crush? I'm sorry, I'm embarrassing you. I bet your mum's pretty, isn't she?
She's all right. She's just Mum.
Why did he never bring you here?
I don't know.
You miss him, don't you? I know it's not easy.
We were just friends.
I meant you coming here and telling me. I know it's not easy.
I haven't said anything yet.
I won't tell anyone.
What?
Going to the police won't bring him back, will it? I just want to know the truth.
You don't want him to go to prison?
Him.
Them.
They won't even know you've told me.
Look, my mum's going to be worried about me. My dad will probably be getting angry.
You said he worked away.
He might be back. I've got to go. I'm sorry.
Would you like something of his? Wait here, I'll be right back. Here. You might as well have his headphones. He said that they were...
Mint.
He saved up for weeks for them. What's wrong?
He gave them to him. They were a present.
For what?
I don't know. I just know they were a present.
I don't understand. What was he doing for him? What was it? Tell me!
Ange? Ange? It's Leah. My mum's gone out and I've left my keys at home. Ange? Oh, I saw the light on. I hope I didn't wake you. Hello, Rory.
Do you two know each other?
We go to the same college.
I've got the spare key somewhere. I'll just go find it. Make yourself a cuppa if you like.
Oh, it's all right. I don't want to be a nuisance. What are you doing, Rory? What are you doing?
She deserves to know the truth.
The truth about what? The truth about him? About what he did? About who he was? Or the truth about you? About who you are and what you did? You're shaking, Rory. Why are you shaking? She needs your inhaler. Is that what you need? You don't want the truth to come out. Not really. Isn't that right, Rory? She won't understand.
Maybe she will. She said she won't go to the police. She said that...
What have you told her?
Nothing.
I can't look after you if you do.
She said she wouldn't go to the police, though.
And you believe her.
Danny's dead. It won't bring him back, will it?
Of course, she'll go to the police.
Yeah. Maybe she should. Maybe I should too. It's the right thing to do.
Right thing. The right thing to do is just shut up and not say a word.
I swear I put it in this box under the bed.
They killed him. They killed Danny.
And you were there too. So what does that make you? If you tell, you go down too.
I did nothing.
You think they'll believe that? You won't even be able to hide behind your little middle class status. Everyone will know. Look around you. Look at the photos. Look at how much he meant to her.
She knew that he wasn't perfect.
This is a tiny bit different to skipping school, being a cheeky git, and stealing the biscuits before dinner time and staying out late. What about you? Do you really think she can handle that?
It's the right thing to do.
No. The right thing to have done was for you to have stayed away that night. You killed him, not us, not anyone else. It was your fault. Now go home.
No.
What?
Your boyfriend killed him. He stabbed him. He stabbed him because...
Because you had to get involved. No one wants this. He didn't want to kill him. He was just going to scare him a bit.
Oh, that's why he had a knife, is it?
You don't live around here.
They beat him up. They were going to beat me up.
Just to scare you both.
Oh, congratulations. They succeeded because I have been terrified ever since. And I wasn't even the one that died. He's still out there. Him and his mates. Nothing has changed. He hasn't learnt anything. He's got away with it.
Don't tell her, Rory. Please.
He should have died. He should have lived.
He's my boyfriend. You're my friend.
Yeah, well, friends shouldn't fear one another.
You know, if you tell her, you won't get off this estate alive. You know that, don't you?
Oh, now where's she gone? Took me ages to find that ruddy key. Oh, what's wrong with you? You look like death. I'll never understand you kids. I know I'm not one to talk, but I blame her mother. Don't get me wrong, Glenda's a lovely lady, but she always spreads herself too thin. She works 3 different jobs. Down at the one stop, a cleaner at the school, and then there's her church warden job. She's one of them religious types. Not a massive religious nut, mind you. Her church is one of them gospel happy-clappy ones. You know the ones, praise the Lord and all that hippie business. Great singing voice, though. I often hear her singing to herself. It's her that puts all that flower baskets on the balconies outside. She tries her best, bless her. How she does it, I'll never know. She's got 5 kids too, and her husband's in one of them homes. It was terrible what happened to him. One day he went off to work in a rush, got stuck in a traffic jam, so he tried to do a 3-point turn, and then bam! Got hit by a delivery van speeding down the other side. Sometimes I wonder if it would have just been kinder if he'd died. Pretty much a vegetable now. I wouldn't want it if it were me. I'd rather just go. Quick and no fuss like. She's not a bad sort, though. Leah, her daughter, I mean. I used to babysit her all the time. I know she's got a bit of a gob on her now, but she's got a heart of gold, really. She's a sweet little thing. Her and Danny used to play out front together when they were younger. Between you and I, we always thought she had a soft spot for him. But what girl didn't? I liked her. She's got a good head on her shoulders. She's a good un. I remember when her dad had his accident. She was the one helping her mother get by, doing the shopping, helping look after her younger brothers and sisters. I thought to myself, she's going to go far, that girl.
It was her boyfriend.
What was?
It was her boyfriend. Darren Eccles. It was him. He killed Danny.
Darren Eccles? Beth and Andrew's boy? No, that can't be. They came to the funeral. I spoke to him afterwards. He was his friend. They used to play at the skate park together.
It's his gang.
Darren Eccles? You must have mixed it up. Why?
It started off just for fun. A group of mates hanging out. Danny thought Darren was just being nice. I mean, yeah, Danny was popular at college, but Darren was older. And he'd made something of himself. Nice fast car, girlfriend, his own place, and he's only 19. Danny looked up to him. He thought that he was somebody. And Darren took him under his wing, made him his wingman, started giving him stuff, inviting him to parties.
The headphones.
The Ray-Bans. He thought they was fun, hanging about. Sure, they get into a bit of trouble, usual sort, smashing up the park, fights with other gangs. It wasn't anything too serious. Then Danny started asking questions. How did he become so successful? How could he afford the flat, the car? That's when Darren introduced him to it. Darren knew that Danny was popular. He knew what he was doing from the start. He knew Danny could sell. It was just like his dad, a salesman, the gift of the gag. He knew he could bring in new customers.
He was selling drugs?
He didn't want to.
No, not my Danny. He knew better than that. He wasn't a saint, but...
I'm not lying.
I don't even know you. Why should I believe you?
Because it's the truth.
Why? He could have said no. He could have walked away.
First it was just for the thrill. Then it was for the money. And then the power. He liked the status. Darren looked after him. That's what he does. He makes you rely on him. He makes you feel like you belong. Like you mean something.
He did mean something. He meant something to me. He was... No, you must have it wrong.
He didn't want to be a failure. He wanted to be a somebody. He knew it was wrong. That's why he wanted out.
You should have told me.
He couldn't. Darren started changing. He started getting pushy, demanding, aggressive. Started acting all crazy. The rumours were right about Sam Grove.
Sam?
It wasn't an accident.
He didn't slip.
Darren pushed him down those stairs. He even laughed as Sam laid there bleeding on the ground.
Danny was there, wasn't he?
It probably freaked him out. It took me ages to get out of him. I knew something was up. He sobbed in my arms. He made me promise not to tell anyone. He knew Darren would kill him if anyone found out.
Danny never cried.
What are you doing? You said you wouldn't call the police.
He killed my son.
He's dangerous. Please, you can't call them.
Give me my phone back. Give it back to me, you little shit.
It was my fault.
What do you mean?
I kept on at him to leave the gang. I told him he had to choose. I told him that if he wouldn't go, well, then I'd call the police. I said that...
What? What did you say?
He told him. He told him he wanted out. And then Darren didn't say much. He just stood there silent, apparently. Then he smiled and told Danny that it was his loss. Oh, I should have known it was too easy. We both should have known that Darren wouldn't let go. was too easy. It was my fault.
You were trying to save him. You were trying to be a good friend.
Darren hated me. He had it in for me from the start. He didn't like that. He hated Danny being friends with me, all right?
Because you were a good person, that's why.
No,
It doesn't make any of this your fault.
you don't understand. If it wasn't for me, Danny would still be alive. He was trying to save me. He was protecting me. Should have seen it coming. As soon as I heard that noise, that drumming noise they made, it was that stupid calling noise. They bang bits of wood against these rubbish bin lids. It sounds silly, but when there's loads of them coming from all directions coming towards you, it's fucking scary. Drum, 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 louder and louder. They cornered me, started pushing me, laughing at me. They were getting in my face. They stole my bag, emptied it across the floor. And one of them punched me really, really hard. I was choking on the floor. My stomach felt like it was going to explode. They kicked me and stamped on my hand. And that's when he came. He pushed them out of the way and picked me up, just like he did before. He told me that it was going to be okay. They were spitting words at me, laughing, and Darren was just standing there, emotionless, like really ice cold. Scary. He told them that he didn't want to fight, but they made him. There was too many of them. Punch after punch after punch. He was on the floor. I couldn't see him. And Darren was there in front of him. I saw it. I saw what he had in his hand. I ran. I ran away. It was my fault.
It wasn't your fault.
I should have stayed.
And done what? He was already dead. There was nothing you could do.
Should have been me.
It should have been neither of you.
It was me he hated.
It was not your fault. It wasn't your fault. It was not your fault. You were a good friend to him.
He was a good friend to me. He was the best.
When he was a child, he used to lay in my lap just like this. I'd stroke his hair whenever he had a nightmare or just when he couldn't sleep. He used to love that. He'd slowly close his eyes and drift off. He used to love to be close to my heartbeat.
Made him feel safe. Like he wasn't.
Alone.
He could always make me laugh.
You know, he'd always threatened to turn up to his wedding day as rude man. I swear it. He would have done it as well.
He could have pulled it off too.
Wouldn't be a dry eye in the place. Everyone would be in stitches.
The priest would have a nervous breakdown.
And his granddad would have a heart attack. Whilst his dad would be cheering him on. That's my lad. Be proud of what you got, son.
Let it do the jingle jangle.
What an image. Was he really planning on going to uni?
He would have made it too.
My boy. University.
Would have probably partied too much though.
But he'd be back every other weekend.
Just to see his mum.
Nah, cheeky git would be bringing his dirty washing home, more like it. I miss him, you know. I really do.
You know, he hated me at first. Said that I was an arrogant prick who was annoying and uptight. Didn't think that I could relax. And of course, he was right. I was a proper geek. I couldn't talk to anyone, and when I did, I even mumbled. I sound like a squeaky robot with a nervous sniff. It's true. But you see, my nan once told me that the best way to get yourself out of any confrontation is to do the unexpected. So this one time, him and his friends were picking on me. I just closed my eyes and started singing. I swear it. There was me, this little geek, rapping and beatboxing in the school bogs at the top of my voice. Did
it work? Were they impressed?
Nah. They were making such a racket, pissing themselves laughing, that one of the teachers came in and gave us all a right bollocking.
I need to call the police.
And then what? What good would that do? You said so yourself. It won't bring him back.
They'll lock that piece of scum up, though, give him what he deserves.
There's always going to be a Darren Eccles. You can lock them all up one by one until the prisons are all bursting, but there'll always be a Darren Eccles waiting in the shadows, ready to take over. It's like it's all about noise. That's what Danny used to say. Everyone's making it, complaining about this, moaning about that. Everyone walks around like eggshells ready to shatter and crack and burst their yoke all over the place at the slightest word. But with all this noise, no one's really listening. It's all just pretend, because everyone's gone deaf. It's like this giant hand has come down and switched the mute button on. People are afraid. Kids are afraid. I saw it in every member of Darren's gang's faces. Fear. They don't know how to deal with failure or being knocked back, and they're scared. Darren Eccles offers a way to be heard, a way to make a noise which is so high-pitched and alarming that he can be heard. What future these people have? Unemployment, cutbacks, zero contract hours, worthless degrees, debt, a benefit system that's just fraud, and a gaping hole between the rich and the poor which just seems to be getting bigger and bigger. People are angry. People are lost. And nobody's doing anything. The world is running right and there is no discipline. You know, as I sat there holding Danny whilst he bled to death, not one police or ambulance came in time. People stood filming him dying on their phones. No one spoke. No one was shocked because it was normal. It was too normal. Darren Eccles will always be there because he'll pretend to listen. He'll give false hope. He'll make people feel like they've got a voice, that they can be heard and that they can be seen. He'll prey on the vulnerable, the disillusioned, and the ones that are lost in the noise. And because it's become so normal. Where's the discipline? The protection? The guidance? Where's the hope?
If you believe that, then what did Danny die for? Because I thought he died saving you and doing what's right. Isn't that hope?
He really was a superhero.
I'll drink to that. What did Leah say to you before she left?
Oh, nothing. Look, you can call the police if you want. Can I use the bathroom?
Sure. Oh, my baby. My baby boy. You didn't ask where the bathroom was.
Sorry?
You didn't ask where the bathroom was. You've been here before, haven't you?
No, I just guessed.
Then why didn't you flush the toilet?
I didn't...
Don't lie to me. You knew exactly where you were going. That's why Leah knew that you were here. What did you take out of his room? Why did Darren hate you so much? Give me your bag.
No, give it back!
What's this? Why have you got his hoodie?
I didn't mean to... I just...
Shit. That's why he killed him. He was protecting you because he...
We were... He was my boy, Danny. He was my boy, Danny.
He was our boy, Danny.
I
think you should go now. I don't think you should come back here.
But...
I'm sorry, I just...
Please. Please.
You've been listening to an Alfie James production, My Boy Danny by Alfie James, with Kitty Whitley as Ange, Ben Kinsman as Rory, and Atarah as Leah.